Well, hopefully you enjoyed that video from Dan Gilbert. I have to say that the happiness TED Talks are the most crowded subject of TED Talks in psychology. Like, people are really interested in happiness and the pursuit of happiness and positive psychology and how to boost resilience and how to develop a growth mindset and these kinds of things. So there's a lot of videos and TED Talks about this. So it's sort of a TED Talk film festival, this on this module where we're just going to be sitting here watching a lot of TED Talks. So hopefully you found that really interesting. And let's go ahead and move on to just sort of a little bit more detail on the adaptation level phenomenon that I kind of introduced, and the impact factor that also kind of lends itself to this adaptation level phenomenon. We have a tendency to adapt to a given level of stimulation and to notice and react to changes from that level. I mean, this is at the simplest, like when I say stimulation, I mean, this is at the simplest, like brain level, or, your peripheral nervous system. You adapt to the given level of stimulation. And so something that is very noticeable at first, like for example, if you're holding something in your hand, at first it might feel like you can, you're noticing it on your hand, you're picking up the texture, you're noticing the temperature of it, all these factors that you're noticing at first. But if you continue to hold that thing in your hand, you will ultimately adapt and you'll stop collecting information about that stimulus because your brain is like, yeah, I know, I'm holding a thing that has some bumps on it. It was kind of cool at the beginning. It's warmed up to my hand. I already know. I'm going to stop responding, right? So even at the very lowest, sort of neuron or nerve ending level, we adapt all the way up to bigger things like, I now am a $10 million lottery winner and I've gotten used to that and I need more. I can go anywhere I want to go. I can do anything I want to do. And all I want to do is sit in my house and stare at the walls because it's too much. It's not even fun anymore. We get used to it and we adapt. So the way we were designed is to be perpetually resetting the baseline of whatever the stimulation is. And so if you get accustomed to holding something in your hand, it would take something more than that for you to notice that there's extra weight in your hand, or it would take you setting that object down for you to notice that there was a change, right? It would have to be less than that. That's typically how we collect information and process information, is that we are always comparing it to the baseline. And whatever you get adapted to becomes the new baseline. So, if you are currently, living paycheck to paycheck, that's your baseline. An increase in your income is going to be noticeable. A decrease in your income is going to be noticeable. A lot of us are noticing that in the summer of 2022 as, gas prices shot up. And that is a real effect on people's, extra money to spend. If you have to spend it on gas to get to work or school, that's going to cause a hit in other things that you want to buy or do or eat. So, we react to changes from that level. That's our baseline. We know that normally we spend X on gas. This is our gas budget. And then now we're spending X plus 2, and we're going to notice that. And then we also, interestingly enough, if it goes to X plus 1, we're going to notice that change because X plus 2 has become our baseline. And so when it goes down from 520 to 489, you suddenly go, hey, look, gas prices are going down. And you kind of forget that, well, yeah, a year ago I was spending, 389, right? You forget what it was a year ago, and all you're reacting to is your new baseline, right? That it was 520. These are real life examples. So we tend to adapt to a baseline, and then we notice changes from that level. And so if you were to become a $10 million lottery winner, that becomes your baseline. You don't come in with your brain of, I was living paycheck to paycheck and then I won $10 million. And so I'm going to keep my paycheck to paycheck mentality as the baseline. That's not how your brain works. And so you're always changing the baseline to whatever you adapt to, whatever you've gotten used to. So it makes you happy for a little while, but you're going to require something better yet to give you another surge of happiness. So it's almost kind of like the worst case scenario to win $10 million, because what's going to come now? Like, what's going to be better than that? Oh, now I won the super Powerball and I got $100 million. What's going to happen? And so it's kind of better when you have incremental change in income, an incremental change in your grades, an incremental change in your social prestige so that you can adapt to that, and there's still growth to be had, right? So that there's still a little bit more that you could do. Having just a whole bunch fall in your lap, that's a tough one. One thing that people have talked about quite a bit is the lack of correlation between personal income and then, the percentage of people describing themselves as very happy. So this is all adjusted to 2012 dollars. So, because we're comparing as far back as like 1958 is the first set of data. And then 2019, I think, is the last set of data. So they just kind of corrected it all to 2012 dollars so that it would all be on the same scale. So we've got personal income going up, even though it's all been adjusted to 2012 dollars. This is not inflationary. This is personal income has been going up objectively, independent of inflation, right? And then, but we see the percentage of people describing themselves as very happy has basically stayed roughly the same. It's gone down a little bit since 1960. Hey, nuts. Okay, so 1965-ish. I'm sorry, I was going to say something. I edited myself. But basically, it's hovered around about 30% of people describing themselves as very happy, even though, after tax income has increased substantially over that time. And this is all American data, by the way, on this graph that I'm showing. This is just US. So what we see is that, there is not a good correlation between the degree of happiness that the person has and the degree of income that they have. In fact, there's a curve that's been designed to explain the lack of correlation, where they say, you know what, once you get to the point where you've got enough money to actually be able to, be comfortable, survival level of happiness, survival level of income is not very well associated with happiness. Having access to some comforts, you're going to start to see happiness increasing, fulfillment increasing. Once people get to the point where they have not only enough to survive and have some comforts, but also, a little bit of luxury, maybe take a vacation or buy the car that they want, that's maybe more than they necessarily, maybe they get to buy a new one instead of having to buy a used one or something. Once you get to that point where you have a little bit of room for luxuries, that seems to be the peak association with happiness. And then you start to lose sense of fulfillment as we get into enough income where you are in the overconsumption phase, where you have way more, and there's just like, how many toys, how big can the house be, how many cars can you have? Really, what else can you do? You can give it away, and that's probably going to help with fulfillment and, compensate for this just complete overconsumption curve that we're seeing here. But that's probably, when we see no correlation between income and happiness, we have to keep in mind that correlations can really only measure linear relationships between two variables. So where one's going up and the other one is also going up, or where one's going up and the other one's going down, but there has to be in this linear association where the line's either going up to the right or it's going down to the right. Like that's all correlations can do. But if it's true that we have this fulfillment curve where, there is a correlation between happiness and income up to the point where you've got enough income to be able to fulfill some luxuries and stuff like that, and then it starts to decline, well, a correlation wouldn't reveal that. Correlations can't handle this kind of curvilinear relationship. And so that might be part of the reason why we really don't have a correlation between income and happiness or fulfillment. Because it's not a linear relationship, it's a curvilinear relationship. So just to tack on to the saga of there was a spider in my office the last time I was recording, I never caught that spider and something just touched my leg. And so now I've got the complete creepy crawlies going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and let you watch Michael Norton talk about how to buy happiness while I do a small spider hunt. So I'll see you on the other side of this video, and hopefully I'll be the vanquished hunter on the other side.